Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be looking at the state of Texas and when it could flip using the election shuffler. So we're going to hop right into it. This is like my fifth take of this video, so I'm going to probably end up repeating myself and then question whether I said it earlier, but whatever. So first of all, I did end up shifting. Sorry, I had to move my spinny chair. I did end up shifting the state of, or essentially all these counties in Texas. I shifted the rural counties, I think, 4 points to the left, I believe, and that narrowed it up to a 4.83% margin of victory for the Republicans, and whereas Biden had lost it by around 6, so it narrowed it up by only around 1%. So as you can see, these rural parts that I shifted, all these blue counties, they don't make up a huge portion of the electorate. So first, let's just take a look at the 2020 election results in Texas and how far the Democrats have come. So first of all, Joe Biden was the first Democrat since Lyndon B. Johnson, if this wants to load, Lyndon B. Johnson, to win Tarrant County, which is Fort Worth, suburban Dallas, essentially, which is pretty big milestone. It's also a pretty big county. He formed a nice coalition for him around San Antonio, Austin area. He won Harris County, which is huge, but he did pretty poorly in the Rio Grande Valley. So Hillary Clinton, she did better in the RGV than Joe Biden, but she did worse essentially everywhere else. 2012, Obama did better than he did pretty well in the Rio Grande Valley, but he did not win Tarrant. He didn't do very well in the San Antonio, Austin area. He didn't do very well in Harris either. He only narrowly won it. So yeah, and then 2004, Bush did very well in Texas. He was the governor of Texas. He was popular here. He did all right with Hispanics. Actually, I think he won like nearly half the Hispanic vote in Texas. And he also won Harris. He won Dallas County, which is where Dallas is, which is pretty surprising. And then 2000, it was even worse. The Democrats, Gore just only did well in essentially the southern part of the state. Other than that, he performed very poorly. So that's essentially Texas in a nutshell over the past 20 years. And, the Democrats are improving, but they still have a lot of places where they need to just do better. So first of all, generally speaking, I think that the Democratic Party of Texas is very incompetent. I don't think that they're a very good state party, and that they should be doing better than they are doing. Second, I think that Biden ran a terrible campaign with Hispanics. I think it's obvious. I was saying this for a while. People for whatever reason didn't like to admit it, but he was running a really bad campaign with Hispanics, and they repudiated him. And had he gotten Clinton numbers in the Rio Grande Valley, I think he could have done really better. He would have done better in Texas. So now, just to briefly take a look at some of the larger cities in Texas. First of all, the most Republican cities are Fort Worth, which is outside of Dallas, which is still pretty blue. But Amarillo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, as well as Lubbock, are both very Republican areas, as you can see. These are cities that have around 200,000 people each, but Democrats only win a few precincts, and that's pretty bad news for them. Laredo's another one that's a Democratic area. El Paso's pretty Democratic right here, El Paso. Houston, obviously the biggest city, huge basin of Democratic votes there. Austin, San Antonio, Key, and also Dallas. So that's essentially it for our brief review of Texas geography. But now we're going to be taking a look at the election shuffler. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I shifted the rural counties, I think, 4 points to the left, and it's still 4.83% margin of victory for the Democrats. So I think that what we need to do is we need to start looking at these other deep red counties. So this is Potter County right here. This is the home of Amarillo. And, as I mentioned, the Democrats did not do very well in Amarillo. If we can zoom in here, Amarillo is a city of around 200,000 people, and they only won a few precincts, and it's a pretty red city. So overall, Amarillo, or it might be Amarillo, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'll just go with Amarillo because I don't know, I'm not sure. But Amarillo was a very, very, as I mentioned, very, very Republican place, and I think that the Democrats can definitely narrow it up in the future. We'll give it to, I think it should go Republican by around 20, actually. Same with Lubbock County, which was a little more Republican than Amarillo, but I'll say it's a 23-point Trump county. And then taking a look at Lubbock, it's a little bigger than Amarillo. There are still more Democratic voters there, but it's still a pretty Republican city, considering all things considered. It's still a very Republican area. And then also, I don't know why I didn't. Wait, no, I already shifted that county, I believe. Yeah. So then taking a look at the Rio Grande Valley, El Paso, first of all. Actually, I didn't want to do that. Cancel multi-select. I don't know what that was. Yeah, I guess I'll shift it to the left a little bit. But El Paso was a county that Hillary Clinton won by more than Joe Biden. She actually won it by 7.6% more than Biden. So I think that, Biden should have to do, or, for the Democrats in the future, they have to do better than both Clinton and Biden in El Paso, despite Clinton doing very well. Make it very deep shade of blue. Culberson was another, these southern counties all shifted away from the Democrats. Culberson County was 20 points more Republican than in 2016. It was a county that Joe Biden only won by 2, but Clinton did very well there. So I think the Democrats need to kind of do a little better than both Clinton and Biden. Now, Clinton did better than Biden in these areas, but Democrats need to do better there. So I'm just going to shift these counties essentially according to what they were. New York Times, Presidio County was only 3 points more Republican than 2016, but I think the Democrats can do better. Brewster County, which was more competitive. I think this was actually a flip. Brewster, no, it wasn't a flip. Never mind, my bad. So I think that it'll just have to narrow up no matter what, or have to flip Democratic no matter what. Hudspeth, these counties should just, these more Republican areas in the South should all shift like 5 points to the right, just because the Hispanics need higher turnout for these areas to flip. So these more Republican counties that have some Hispanic need to flip, or need to shift like 6 points to the right. So I'm going to say we're going to shift those 6 points to the left. So yeah, and actually, I think that Valverde should flip actually, because this was a county that Joe Biden did pretty poorly in. If I can find Valverde, yeah, he did. He lost it by 18, and actually that was a Clinton county. So I think actually I should do a little more for the Democratic Party there. And then Jefferson Davis County. I think I'm done with this area, but now going down here to Zapata, these were counties that were solid for Hillary Clinton. Like she won them by like 30 or 40, something like look at the swing from Zapata. Let me show you the swing from Zapata. Maverick is pretty big too, but Zapata was 38 points more Republican than 2016. So I think the Democrats actually should be doing, these should be shifting like something like, I know it sounds crazy, but these counties should be shifting something like 40% to the left. And I mean that completely seriously. I know it sounds crazy, but they should be, because Hillary Clinton, she did pretty well there, but Democrats need to do better than Hillary Clinton to win Texas. It's a tall order, but they need to do better in these areas. So it's now down to a 2.46 margin of victory. Then they need to have higher turnout from Hispanics as well, so we can say we can adjust the turnout in these counties as well. I think we should actually multi-select. Can we multi-select these counties? No, we can't. We have to use turnout numbers individually. So I'm going to pause the video here. We'll edit the turnout numbers. And we are now looking at the Republicans only up here by 2%. So we're essentially done with the RGV, although I think that we can actually flip some of these narrower counties that we didn't have already. And then I think the Jim Wells County would flip, actually. And we'll have Kennedy narrow up a little bit. So I think now we're done with the Rio Grande Valley. But now we can take a look at the Austin-San Antonio. So this is where San Antonio is, Bexar County. I think that Democrats need to do better there. Biden did actually pretty well in Bexar. If we can find Bexar. I wish they were better at this, but they have it in kind of a weird way. I just wish they showed it more. I don't know. It's somewhere over here, but I can't really find it. Anyways, Bexar was a county that Biden did pretty well, and for the Democrats, this was a county that historically has been more Republican, but it's trending blue. So I think that these areas around Houston, or not Houston, San Antonio and Austin are going to be better. Williamson was a Biden flip, but I think that it's a suburban county, so in 2024 it could be really solid for the Democratic Party. Actually, as should Hayes County and as should Bexar. I know I just that, but now we're down to a 0.6% Republican victory. And Houston or Harris, which is where Houston is, the Democrats have not hit their peak there. They, if they just do a little better here, they're on track to winning the state, which I already have them winning. So to make this interesting, we'll have them do only a little better than they did in 2020, but the turnout just has to go up for the Republican Party, or for the Democratic Party there in Fort Bend. Also, they have room to improve. So now we're down to a D plus 0.05 margin, which is essentially they're winning, but I think we can do a little better for them because we haven't touched Dallas or suburbs. And this county, Jefferson, I don't know too much about it, but it would just flip because it looks pretty close. As with Bell, it's suburban, kind of ex-urban suburban, which are trending. These areas are trending Democratic, so it makes sense that they would all become more Democratic. I guess not flipping, but more Democratic. And you're going to be thinking, well, there's some areas that are trending Democrat, but the rurals are trending Republican. Well, they kind of are. I think I can agree with that overall. But without Trump on the ballot, they're still going to trend Democratic because Trump kind of maxed out Republican support in rural areas. And even if Democrats don't do better, the turnout would be down either way, which would be a net loss for Republicans overall. Now, taking a look at Tarrant County, which was a historic Biden county, I think the Democrats, he only won it by 0.2. Democrats can start to run it up there a little bit. They can win it by 3 or 4 in the future. Dallas, they just had to do better there, generally speaking. Now, Collin and Denton, which are kind of suburban, exurban Dallas counties, I wouldn't say Denton's on track to flip by 2024, so I'll give it to the Republicans by literally under 1%, if we can do that. But I think that Collin could definitely flip and go like a 1 to 2 point Democratic county. I'll adjust that. So I think that's what a Democratic victory in Texas would look like for as of right now. So obviously, I didn't edit everything. I think there are some counties I probably didn't touch if we show the shift. Yeah, I didn't touch some of these counties down here. The blue counties were the ones I touched. And, the most shift, and this makes sense, the most shift was in the Rio Grande Valley because Biden did so poorly there. And, he didn't do poorly anywhere else, but he did really badly in the Rio Grande Valley. That's why it shifted so far to the left. So that's essentially it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.